Hello and welcome to The Interview. In October 2014, Italy ended its operation to rescue stricken migrants in the Mediterranean. As thousands of lives were put at risk, one man decided to take matters into his own hands. Klaus Vogel left his job in the merchant navy, chartered a boat, and with his crew started saving people who were making the dangerous crossing from the Libyan coast. Thus, SOS Mediterranean was born, an association which has saved an estimated 18,000 migrants, at least, to date. Klaus Vogel, welcome to the program. I want to show our viewers your book, which you've just published, which is about your experiences, and it is called Tous sont vivants, They Are All Alive, a testimony by Klaus Vogel with Valérie Perronnet, published by Les Arènes. This is only available in French at the moment, is that right?
So far, but we will have a translation.
Right. Just tell us about the title, first of all, Tous sont vivants, They Are All Alive. What did you mean by that?
I mean that to go with a positive approach that we can rescue everyone is how we should work and how we do work. But it has also a personal background because it was in 1943 on the bombarding of Hamburg when my father was 13 that after the bombarding, when my father, together with his parents, came back to the house, the authorities had written on each house with chalk the number of dead people because the houses were looking like the houses of Homs and Aleppo today. With chalk the number of dead people, and on the house of my father it was written, all are alive. So this is from there. And that's also a background because even in the worst catastrophe, there is hope.
And of course, that sense of history, that comes through a lot in your book. You talk about your family past a lot. One of your family members shared Nazi ideology, but others didn't. But there are a lot of references to Anne Frank, to the Holocaust. Is there a link between that and your decision to help migrants?
I would say it's a part of not only mine, but also our European background at this time. And what we learn from that past is that let's say, the traditional way of dealing with catastrophes, which led us into the First and Second World War, and which was not a good leadership in neither way, that this approach we are looking at it now differently, and that a more empathetic and more, let's say, humanist and humanitarian approach is necessary.
Let's talk in more detail about your work or the work of this boat, Aquarius, in the Mediterranean. So when this work started, yours was the only association doing this kind of thing. There was no civil society initiative back in 2014, early 2015. Is that right?
In Europe, yes. There was no European beyond national initiative at all. And what I thought and what we thought when we started SOS Mediterranean was that Germans, French, Italians, and beyond Europeans should work together to share the need of finding a good and strong and big enough rescue ship, and do the rescue as long as the governments are not ready for it.
Some of the official authorities involved in such efforts were not particularly happy by what you were doing. The prosecutor of Catania in Sicily even accused your association of collusion with the traffickers, the people traffickers, and of entering Libyan waters. What do you say to those two accusations?
Well, this is very recent, and it was not when we started, and it's not the general approach of the authorities. It's just a single prosecutor who is going for election in a few months.
The Frontex was also critical, I think,
Frontex was also critical, but Frontex has a different approach, for instance, from the Italian government's Coast Guard. We started our operation in close cooperation with the Italian Coast Guard. We are closely cooperating daily with the Italian Coast Guard, and our ship is doing exactly the same what the Italian Coast Guard ships have been done before. So the accusation should go to everyone who would rescue at all in the Libyan or outside the Libyan coast or near the Libyan coast, and based on our experience, it's simply not founded.
So the crew of this boat is the one that actually spots the migrants and picks them up.
No, very often it's the MRCC in Rome,
Right.
which gives us the information about a boat in distress and sends us there. And if it wouldn't be us, it would be another ship. Maybe the other ship would be more far away. So we are reducing the risk for the migrants. And in my point of view, in our point of view, and I think in every human point of view, it should be normal that you should reduce the risk for the people in distress or in risk of life.
Right. So they will tell you where it is, and you then go and pick them up. And what then happens? You take do they tell you where to drop the migrants off so that they end up
Yes.
at a reception center somewhere?
Yes.
And do you consider your mission to be finished at that point, whatever
Yes.
happens to them later?
We are concerned, and we hope that they will be dealt with well ashore, but we cannot say this.
And in terms of international law, there's no problem with the legal framework for a citizens' initiative of this kind?
No, it's even more than that. There is a obligation to do rescue. For every mariner who is at sea, there is an obligation, and as a merchant a marine captain, I have felt this obligation all my professional life. And now we are more specialized, we are closer to the situation, and we are doing more than just not being there. But it shouldn't become illegal by just being better prepared.
SOS Mediterranean says that this operation costs 11,000 euros per day of being at sea. Where do you get your money from?
We collect them from everyone. It started from my niece who gave her pocket money, and our neighbors who collected from their friends, and friends of friends have collected. So it's from everyone, and we have donations, larger ones and not so large ones, and we need a lot of support because it's still difficult job to collect the money for the ship.
You've said in one other interview you don't want to be sponsored by Volkswagen. What do you mean?
Well, we wouldn't put a sponsoring logo on the funnel of the ship.
Yeah.
But of course, if a company would support us, if a government even would support us without influencing as our independence, we would of course be happy.
Let's take a look at the broader picture. When you look at Operation Triton, which took over from Mare Nostrum, how optimistic or pessimistic are you about the wider efforts to save migrants?
Well, I think in the long run there is no other option than, first of all, to continue the rescue at sea, because otherwise Europe would completely destroy its own human values. And beyond that, it's very urgent to develop a policy, a human policy, beyond just only rescuing people, which goes into Libya, which goes beyond Libya into the countries where the people are fleeing from.
Human is a very important word, and one conversation which struck me in this book was one that you had with one of your own crewmates who was from Ukraine.
Yes.
And he said, well, what if these migrants are dangerous? What if they're armed? And surely they had a choice not to make this dangerous crossing. And you said, I don't think they had a choice. It was fascinating to me because it really mirrored the whole debate in Europe.
Yeah.
And whether people consider them to be, fully humans, brothers or whatever.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the end of that discussion, because we gave to Alex, this chief mate who had these remarks and who was critical of this approach, we gave him the duty to control every migrant who came on board on weapons and on whatever he could have with him. And so quickly he realized that none of them had anything dangerous on him, that they were just simple, poor and desperate human beings, and he helped us with them. And after a few weeks, he completely changed, and he understood what we are doing.
Did you personally have any exchange with a migrant that really stands out for you?
Yes, I met a migrant who's now already living in Italy for about 10 years, who himself was rescued in 2003 or 2004, and who told me his situation in 2003 or 2004. He said at that time, rescue was the exception, and to die was just normal.
So it's at least a slightly more positive.
We have a little bit of positive development, but I would love to share it with more people in Europe and beyond, and would love that this approach, what we have with SOS Mediterranee, would be supported and shared as part of our policy towards the rest of the world.
We'll end it there. Thank you so much for being our guest on the interview, Klaus Vogel, Captain Klaus Vogel, President of SOS Méditerranée. Do stay tuned. More news coming up here on France 24.
Reporters, presented by Mark Owen.
In Saudi Arabia, women have always been considered second-class citizens. Over the past several months, the Wahhabi kingdom has decided to make it easier for women to work. Their emancipation includes dabbling in politics, practicing sports, and leisure activities.
3 or 4 years ago, this would have been unthinkable. Today, I'm here with my girlfriends to have fun.
It's a nice feeling.
But there's still a long way to go in this male-dominated society where ultra-conservative Islam reigns.
Reporters on France 24 and France24.com.